So, Len, a couple of weeks ago, we lost a true legend in Metland, at least. Davey Johnson, the manager of 1986 New York Mets. He also managed the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Nationals, Reds, and Orioles. He's a very successful manager and a great baseball player as well. Played for a number of teams, the Orioles and Braves, the Phillies, Chicago Cubs. He was in the same lineup with Hank Aaron, and when he went to Japan, he was in the same lineup with Sarao. So he's a terrific a baseball man, and we lost him a couple weeks ago. And here to talk about Davey Johnson and his legacy is the host of the Mets Musings podcast, our friend Gary Mack. Gary, thank you for joining us to talk about Davey Johnson.
Thank you,
It's
Gary.
my pleasure to be here, guys. How are you all doing?
All right.
We're okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Gary, what's your recollections of Davey Johnson?
Well, I can remember when they signed him, when they essentially brought him up. He was managing at that time. Tidewater was a AAA affiliate of the Mets, and they had a number of guys in there, and mostly older guys. When Cashin came in, he brought in his friend George Bamberger to manage, and he was an older guy, had heart issues. He missed some time. He resigned, and then Frank Howard took over, and he was there. But they needed something younger. They were going younger with the team. They knew they had a good team in the minor leagues, and they had good players coming up. And so the first move, really, I guess you would say, was the hiring of Davey Johnson, moving him up from Tidewater to the Mets. And, he was, I think, 41 or 42 when the Mets signed him to manage. And was a little brash. He had a mustache. We didn't have a lot of managers with mustaches in those days. He had a mustache. His hair was a little bit longer. So he was kind of on a different wavelength than essentially Frank Cashin. But it was something different. It was a new look. And, he made his mark right away. I mean, the team improved somewhat his first year, but he knew he had Strawberry. He knew he had Gooden in the minors. He had a lot of these Darling. He had a lot of these guys in the minor leagues that they eventually brought up, and he knew that this team was going to build, much like Keith Hernandez tells the story. He came in '83 and was a free agent at the end of that year, and his brother told him to sign with the Mets because they had a bunch of young talent coming up and that they were going to be very good, and the rest is history, of course. But uh, he changed the philosophy of that team. A lot of people don't realize it too, that he was one of the first guys to use not I don't want to say analytics because it wasn't analytics as we know it today, but he had a computer. Um, and he used data and did a lot of his decision making based on that. So, and this went back to even his playing days. He had argued once with Earl Weaver about getting a computer in the early days in the Baltimore clubhouse because he used to keep his records of how he hit and everything. And I'm glad that you said he was a great player because a lot of people don't remember that he was a really good player. He was a four-time All-Star. He won 3 Gold Gloves, 2 World Series champions as a player, and the connection to the Mets was kind of unbelievable because if you watch the tape as we have, and I saw it live, of course, the '69 World Series, the last out, it was Davey Johnson that made that out, hit a fly ball to Cleon Jones. Everybody remembers Cleon Jones caught the ball, of course,
Sure.
but the fact that Davey Johnson actually was the guy to hit it made the out, and of course the next thing he had to do with the Mets was that the being the manager of the 1986 World Champion Mets. So um, Davey was a different kind of guy, and he was smart, really smart, and just was good for this team. And by the way, he was also a two-time manager of the year. So he was successful wherever he went. Not to mention that after his major league career managed, he took on Team USA and won a bronze, I think, in the Olympics, and won the gold in the World Baseball Classic. So he really had a full life, and was a little outspoken at times. That got him fired in 1990, I believe it was. He had a feud going with Frank Cashin, the general manager. And as we know, uh, the manager's not going to win that feud. He's going to lose to the general manager every time. So, um, but terrific guy, um, most winning manager in Mets history. And so it was, he had a full life. He had a good full life, and but we still mourn his loss. It's still, the older you get, the more you lose. Robert Redford now passed away, and you sit here and you hear about these people passing away, and especially me at my age, um, and you think back all your heroes and people as a child, they're all leaving us now. But uh, you know, uh, glad Davey lived as long as he did and has had a good, successful life. And thank God for the '86 World Series championship. And by the way, he was the one that got Dwight Gooden here.
Yes.
Cashin did not want to bring up Gooden. He felt he was too young. And Davey was the one that leaned on him and leaned on Cash and said he was ready, forced him almost. And of course, we know what the rest of history is. And he had a philosophy that he didn't care what you did in the off time, as long as you came in on time and played hard. That's all that he cared about. And maybe that was a little, maybe that philosophy didn't work so well, maybe with Gooden and Strawberry. That's arguable. That maybe if they had kept a tighter leash on both those guys, that things would have been a little different. But you know, it wasn't. So they had well documented problems with the law and with drugs
Hmm.
and alcohol, and it's just a shame because they were definitely two Hall of Famers the way they played. And but the talk was. I know it's been brought up that Davey should be in the Hall of Fame or not. I don't think he had enough of the numbers um, for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Had he managed to be a little bit more, maybe could get in as a manager. But though I'd like to compare his won and loss record. It's something I didn't do. I should have with Joe Torre's to see how close whether or not they were close or not. But
Well, Gary,
of
what
course,
about
Joe.
Jim Leland? I think Jim Leland only won one World Series, didn't he? With the
Yeah, but
Marlins.
Jim Leland was but he won a lot of division titles,
Mm,
and
okay.
he was a good manager too. There's no taking away from
Right.
him,
Right.
and I think he managed longer than Davey did.
Mm, okay.
Totally. So, there's a lot to do with longevity in
Sure.
this game too,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, and so.
So I have a couple comments, Gary. First of all, Davey
Mhm.
was a very, very good baseball player. But you know what? After baseball, he did not need to manage. I mean, he was very successful off the field. I mean,
Yeah,
he could have retired there. Not he had so many other interests that he did this for the love of the game. He did not need baseball, but he was in his blood and he wanted to continue it. Now, when he was with the Braves, did you know in 1973 he led the Braves with 43 home runs. He had three more home runs
right.
than Hank Aaron.
Then
You
Hank
know,
Aaron.
he
Yeah,
had more
yeah.
RBIs than Hank Aaron that year, which is kind of unbelievable. But and when he got to the Mets, I mean, '84 was a look. I remember I was an intern in '84. They got good. They're good, and Strawberry was there. Hernandez was there. They started winning. They won 90 games. Of course, there was no no wild cards and that stuff back then. So they missed out by a couple of games to the Cubs. Next year they gone down to the wire with the Cardinals, and they just missed getting to the playoffs
Right.
then. And at the beginning of 1986, Davey Johnson got to spring training and said to the team, "Not only going to win, we're going to dominate."
Dominate.
And they did.
And they did. Yeah.
And
And if you remember that year, they didn't get off to the best of starts
nope,
either.
nope.
I think, I don't remember exactly, but there was something like 1-5
Well, they were
or
2-3 at one point. I remember that.
yeah, and then all of a sudden they whipped off like 11 in a row or something or other. It escapes me now, but so they dominated is right, and it still was close though.
Oh yeah, the
Playoffs
playoffs and World Series. Oh
and
my gosh.
in the World Series.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what adds lore to that team and to Davey Johnson for that matter. I mean, because you think of some of the things he did, the game in Cincinnati, the Parker game with the fight,
Hmm.
and Ray Knight got thrown out of the game for fighting, and Gary Carter actually went in to play third base and turned I think it was a double play. He turned
A three,
ground ball to
five,
third.
four double play. Yeah, Keith
Yeah,
Hernandez came in on a bunt.
that's right. That's right. And it was little things like that. And then the McDowell and Orozco switching places. A couple of times he did that during the year because they had the lefty righty combination. So
Hmm.
he didn't want to take him out of the game. So he had one of them playing in the outfield and one was on the mound. And then if a lefty came up, he put in a Roscoe and McDowell went to right field. I mean, it was pretty ingenious at the time, and I don't recall seeing anybody do it again. I'm sure that perhaps somebody has, but it was pretty interesting for the time. And um, he was just like you said, he was an interesting guy. He had a lot of different interests, and he could talk on a lot of different subjects. Uh, and But baseball was in his blood, and you know, uh, he just had a nice career, and as you said, managed a number of teams and
Yep.
did well for everybody.
Yep. Leonard, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I love that he told Earl Weaver where he should be hitting in the lineup.
Yeah,
I mean, because he did. He was a user of, like you said, Gary. Maybe it wasn't called analytics, and it wasn't, but he definitely knew numbers, and he used that. But the funny thing is, later on, years later, uh, he said, the managers, they use analytics now, and they need to manage with their guts, but he was a user of analytics at the time. Again, not called that, but um, he was a very good player, a really good player. And you add that to a really good managerial career. He kind of, he's like Joe Namath. A lot of people say Joe Namath in football is in the Hall of Fame because of one game, right? You get a lot of that. That Joe
yeah,
Namath, because of that one game, that Super Bowl. Davey Johnson won one of the most exciting World Series. Maybe as Met fans, we think of it, but I mean that really, when you see World Series plays, that Buckner play, I mean that's what you see. The '86 World Champion Mets. So maybe based on his playing career, his managerial career, two-time Manager of the Year, winning that, being the captain that steered that ship of the '86 Mets. I think he went to the postseason 6 times with other teams also. He probably should be uh, in the Hall of Fame as a manager. He had a 562 winning percentage, and probably should be. Now I don't know if he ever will. I don't know, how much they'll try and correct. With players, they try and put them in later. I don't know how much it'll matter, to people, but probably should be in the Hall of Fame for his playing career and managerial career. Because I think Jeff or Gary, you mentioned a comparison to Joe Torre. I know Joe Torre won more World Series than he did, but take playing career and managerial career. Another example is of course Dodgers. How could I not? Hodges, Gil Hodges. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, great playing career, managerial career. Now Gil Hodges, of course, passed away before he had the chance to win more championships with the Mets, but he won the miracle Mets of '69. So Davey Johnson probably should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
well, I guess there's an argument to be made. He is in the Mets Hall of Fame,
Yes, he is.
which is I think is a great honor, and technically his number has been retired. Okay, they retired it for David Wright, but he wore number five. So uh, that's a tricky situation. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but when they retire for somebody's number and there's like a couple of great players, um, do you name both of them?
Well, the Yankees have retired number 8 twice, so it's has been
So there
done.
you go. Um, that's interesting. So
Yeah. Just for comparison, Jim Leland won 1,769 games, lost 1,724, so he had a 506 winning percentage. Davey Johnson won less games, obviously, 1,372, lost only 1,071. He had a 562 winning percentage.
yeah,
You know
he's
what?
got one of the highest
Obviously,
winning.
yeah, it depends on the players, obviously, but definitely an argument to be made.
Yeah, it's always fun to
Yeah,
make those
yeah.
arguments. So we have no votes, but we certainly have opinions.
Yes.
You
But
know,
Leland had he had great teams too, but he did win a few more, I think, National League championship pennants and
Hmm.
you know,
or divisions,
yeah.
Yep.
based.
Davey's also in the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame.
Ah, okay. Yes.
That's right.
And I'm sure he's in the Atlanta Braves as well. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't be, but
Yeah, I don't know. I
yep.
don't know. I just saw New York Mets and
Yep.
Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles obviously as a player,
Hmm.
New York Mets as a manager.
Yep.
But he was the perfect manager for that team. He had them in the minors. He knew them well. They respected him, and he was the perfect manager for that team. Probably should have. I don't think he wore out his welcome, but the general manager would say different. But I think it wasn't like he was the teams that he had with the Mets. He never had a losing season with the Mets, I believe. He did
Right.
have he did have a losing season with one
I
of
think,
the other teams he managed, but not the
Dodgers for one
Mets.
day. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think eventually every manager, pretty much, unless you're a Tommy Lasorda, whoever else, but uh, you usually wear out your welcome. But he probably could have continued winning with the Mets, but
But rest in peace,
well,
Davy Johnson.
yeah.
Gary, any final words?
Well, I was just going to add that uh, Len was saying that he was the perfect manager for that team, and his philosophy of treating them like men, letting them go out and play, and he didn't care what they did in their own time. Um, that was a wild team. People don't realize it. They
oh
were
yeah,
a partying team, and that was a large part of um,
Oh yeah.
it's almost like we've passed the torch now because the young guys that come up seem much more sophisticated, um more talk of nutrition and all of that and working out. And in those days, that was still the old school with partying and having a good time. And
Hmm.
we've seen, you don't hear as much as that now, where they go out. And I think uh, it's something that's, I don't want to say it's lacking because you don't want to, see anybody get in trouble with alcohol or booze, but I mean, or drugs. But just the camaraderie of the where the guys used to hang out and everything like that and go out and party. Um, you don't hear about that much. I think they're more sophisticated now and more realistic about staying in shape and that sort of thing. Their diets,
Hmm.
those guys, they're still doing a job, Keith and Ron, in the booth there with the
Yeah.
foods they eat, with the Dunkin' Donuts and whatever.
Hmm.
But you know, and he was, as you said, he was the right man for that team at that right period of time. Unfortunately, 87 they had a lot of injuries. 88 that terrible series against LA that
Yeah.
they should have won, and uh, that was just heartbreaking. That really hurt more than anything else, I think, that series because
Hmm.
they were up so far. And
Yep.
but as you said, rest in peace, Dave. You had a great career. Thank you for the memories, and thank you for the '86 Mets, and that's it.
Well,
Well,
Gary, thank you for your. Go ahead, Len.
yeah, no, I was going to say what you were going to say, Jeff. I was going to say thank you for coming on with us. We appreciate it. It takes someone uh, like you who saw him play, who has a show, Mets Musings. That's
Someone old, you mean?
I'm being diplomatic, Gary. Okay, but
Yeah.
Gary, so you are the host of my favorite Mets podcast, and that's
Oh,
Mets
thank
Musings.
you.
And tell us, let everybody know, our listeners, if they're not familiar with you, which they should be, what you're up to, how they can find you, uh, plug your show.
Well, I'm on YouTube on Mets Musings Mack. You can find us. You can go to metsmusings.com if you'd like. That's like the center place that you can find everything there, audio or video. We're on every podcast app you can think of: Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. I don't even know half of them. I'm also on TikTok. If you want, the video gets posted on TikTok, and I'm getting a good response from the that site. So continue. Thank you, everyone that goes watches it on TikTok, um, and that's about it. We're coming up on 600 episodes. I think
Wow.
I'm going to be recording 596. I've been doing it since 2010. Can you believe that?
Wow.
It's
That
15
makes us look
And
like,
years I've been
longest
doing
yeah,
it.
running podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes us look like
I,
we're in our infancy.
Yeah.
I believe that it is the longest running Mets podcast. Now, I don't, I can't find when I started it with a good friend Barry. Um, I can't recall any other. The only one that I remember being around about the same time was a one from Scotland, of all places, and they did a Mets broadcast. And I can't remember anybody else doing the Mets. And then Barry and I started. Barry did 96 episodes with me. And then, life gets in the way sometimes. And I've continued on and did the next 500 episodes. And so that's where we're at. And you guys have been on a number of time, and I got to have you on. We have to do our round table as
Hmm.
soon as Barry's feeling up to it. And yeah, so that's it. Metsmusings.com, and I'm still doing it. So,
And you're
I'll
doing it
keep
well.
doing
You're
it.
doing it. You're doing it great, Gary. You really are.
Yes.
Well, thank you so
It's
much.
yeah. If people want to hear a really great show about their Mets, I suggest that they go to Mets Musings, really, because you'll get fresh opinions. You'll he'll hear the frustration. Gary is a fan. There is no doubt about it. He is a fan. When they're winning, you can hear it in his voice. When they're losing, you can hear it too. But you know
Yes.
what? You don't need, if you're going on Mets Musings, you know that the person doing the show is a dedicated Mets fan. So you don't care if you don't want impartiality.
Right.
That's not,
Yeah.
you're not looking for that,
And
you
Gary,
know?
before I let you go, just one thing. I know Len's been dying to do this. Go ahead, Len, do it.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it out of respect for Davey
I
Johnson,
know,
but
but as we
you
go
know,
out,
but I think Davey would be okay with it. So, Gary, this is for you. Gary.
He does such a great job, and you guys do a terrific job as well. And I know you're moving up there, and people love the show. And yeah, I'm waiting for you guys to get a radio show or something next. So
we're trying.
uh,
We're
I
you know,
hope I hope
Thank you,
when you hit
Gary.
it big, you remember the little people.
Okay.
absolutely,
And
Gary.
we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Gary.